College, Chennai, and ably guided by PALS. The area of focus for today's event is strengths in cybersecurity with teams from three prestigious colleges, namely Ishwar Engineering College, Vivekananda College of Engineering for Women, and Alpha College of Engineering taking up the podium. I now call upon Akshaya R to brief on the code of conduct and take over the proceedings for the event.
Before we proceed with the event, these are the code of conducts which must be maintained throughout the event. Point 1. All are to be stay muted. Point 2. Please record your attendance in the attendance form which has been posted in the chat box. If you have not already registered, please register with the registration form as well as the attendance form. And last point, you can ask your questions during the question and answer session, and feedback link will be posted at the end of the session where you can submit your feedback. We hereby invite Mr. Ramaswamy sir from PALS team to give us the welcome address.
A very warm good afternoon to all of you. So we are in for another exciting afternoon, and I hope all of you are brisk. Today we have the second Industry Speaks session, digital, from IBM. This is the second program, and the speaker is Mr. Mahesh Paradkar, Program Director, IBM Security. It will be the pleasure of the host college to introduce him, but I would just like to say that he has more than 2 decades of experience in the field, and he's a thorough professional. The way we prepared for this event, some preparation takes place even before that. So he will be talking today on the trends in cybersecurity, an IBM point of view. And then the colleges, students will present after that. So the topics are security by design, OS perspective. So even now, even as he is presenting, I am learning new things. So I came to know that Open Web Application Security Project is OWASP. So that is something I learned. And then the second topic is post-quantum cryptography initiatives, which the second team will be presenting. And then the third team, they will be presenting on open standards, why in security. So in short, that is the session today. And IBM is strongly with us, and they are coming up with many more exciting initiatives. And I welcome the host college, Principal Dr.
R.S. Kumar, sir.
R.S. Kumar, and then there are other staff members, Dr. Vetriver, and I don't know who else is there. Then also
Mrs. Kalai is there, sir.
Madam Kalai
Security member is there.
So I welcome all the staff who have taken interest to join the session and to motivate the students. And now I can see that the participants are already 358. So I would not like to speak any further. I would hand it over to the MC for taking the event further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, I would like to call upon Dr. R.S. Kumar, sir, Principal, Ishwar Engineering College, to deliver the host address.
Very good afternoon. We have to thank PALS profusely for making this kind of a big impact. So I am from IIT Delhi, and I'm so proud that IIT alumni are doing a great job in this. This is a voluntary action. So many good things are shared with the budding engineers. It's amazing. We are getting great speakers. Today we are having IBM with us. We are proud to be associated with them out into the academic line. I have extensively used IBM material, particularly for XML and XML for integration. Extensively, I've used IBM material. So we all know that IBM is doing such an amazing service. Everybody has the core functionalities, but in addition to that, IBM provides this kind of service also. We are proud of this association. Thank you so much. And thank you, MC, for giving me this opportunity. The introduction part will be done by Dr. Vetrivel Cheli. Thank you. Over to you, MC Akshaya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We are honored to have the respected Mahesh Paratkar, sir, Program Director, IBM Security, amongst us today. He heads the engineering for data security products and has been in various product development and customer-facing roles at IBM Software Labs since 2000. He is an avid contributor to the IBM University Relations Program through engagements with students and faculties on global remote mentoring, shared the university research and faculty development program. Mahesh is also an active member on the board of studies of 4 engineering colleges, universities as a subject matter expert for cybersecurity curriculum. He holds patents and publications in the cloud, cybersecurity, enterprise social networking, and psychometric domains, and currently active in evaluating patents and disclosures as part of the security invention development team at IBM. Mahesh has graduated in mathematics and computer science from University of Bombay and has done his master's in software systems with BITS Pilani Work Integrated Learning Program. We hereby invite our esteemed speaker to take over the session.
Thank you, Akshay, and thank you all for the warm welcome. I just wanted to share my presentation. Give me a minute. I will bring it up. Okay, let me go to presentation mode. Okay, good afternoon all, and I am excited to see such a huge audience listening in to me today. And of course, PALS, thanks for all the effort in arranging this and inviting me. So I am humbled with this opportunity. So thanks a lot to begin with. Okay, as part of this presentation today, I am being told that there is a very diverse audience going to be part of the people who are going to listening in, and hence I've tried to keep it, avoid as many jargons as possible, or at least even if I take a jargon, I will try and explain its context. So that is how I'm going to take it. I will take a few pauses for questions on probably through chats towards the end if there are questions, and look forward to get feedback from you on the session. So let's get started. So here's the agenda. I'm going to start with an analogy with the security at home. It's something that we all have experienced from childhood. Just to set the context for cybersecurity. Then talk a bit about the challenges that the cybersecurity world is facing, and in the context of enterprise in particularly, because we primarily, from IBM perspective, deal with enterprise security. So I'm going to keep out, social software, social media out of it right now. It's going to be focused on enterprise security. Next, what are the security vendors? What are they asking from people, or rather, what are the enterprises asking from security vendors? What are their expectations? And then, as a result of these two, how these two they're not new, or rather, the concepts are evolved, which are zero trust and XDR, or extended detection and response. I will try and use some of the definitions from renowned security vendors and explain these two concepts, and then we'll jump into some of the IBM security products. I'll talk a bit about those in the context of zero trust and extended detection and response. I will cover a bit on encryption because I come from that product area. I represent.
Mr. Mahesh, sorry to interrupt. That your screen is you are changing the slide. Or
No, not really.
okay, fine.
Is it not visible?
Yes, it is visible, but it is in the first slide itself. So
Yeah, it is. I'm just walking through the agenda. Yeah.
no.
And then finally, I'm going to cover a bit on cybersecurity careers, just to get the students interested and motivated to take up careers in cybersecurity, and just cover one slide on what are the different options available. And finally, talk a bit about IBM academic initiatives if the time permits. This is something that we will try to refer to. So let's move on to the first topic. So let's look at what is the security that you have at home. So any classic independent home at house, what are the things that you could possibly put to protect it? In apartments, it may be a little different, but if you're having an independent house, there could be a little more security that you may want to firm up or build to protect your house. And this may include, uh, you know, so there are two broad categories of security controls or measures that you would take for protecting your home. One is a set of security controls that you will install right when the home is being built or it is being designed. So these security controls allow you to protect the home inherently from any inadvertent attack or any even for that matter insider uh, trying to break in. So things such as doors, locks, keys, access points. If you're a little more into digital access or digital security, you may want to put access points. Your walls, they need to be strong enough so that they can't be broken in. Window grills, signages for people who are walking by. You've seen the signage of, be aware of dogs at the entrance gates, right? So these signages scare people who are walking by of the possible dangers if they try to break in. Of course, you have special protection for your valuables like lockers and safes. You also have a video camera for your door phone where you can actually view who is at the door if someone rings the bell. So these are the security controls you would normally have, and uh, these are built by design. And then there may be some advanced ones, which if you are a VIP or if you are, uh, holding a position that has threats, you would want to monitor the threats, and you may want to detect and uh, respond to if there are any incidents. So incident response. And that would include things such as motion sensors, webcams, alarms, or uh, glass break sensors where someone breaks the glass, you can actually uh, uh, raise an alarm, and so on. So these are the protection techniques that you would use to safeguard your home. And then, very broadly, these are two categories. One is by design, and other is, uh, you know, something that you will monitor, detect, and respond to. It is proactive. So, just with that, I think there is very similar situations that we see right now in cybersecurity, in particularly in the enterprise context. So in an enterprise, you will see there are employees, there are partners, there are customers, there are suppliers, people wanting to use systems that are put up by the enterprise. It could be the website, or it could be the web applications. It could be system applications where a partner may want to log in, or there could be, um, you know, mobile applications which actually allow access. The data that is residing there could be structured. For example, it could be a database, or it could be unstructured, like files or web pages and so on. The data at any given point could be at rest, or it could be in motion, in transit, moving between, let's say, customers to the mobile application. And then finally, to run all this, you have infrastructure. There is data center to which you may have physical access. You may actually have physical access controls. There are PCs, laptops. There is cloud, where you would have your applications and data. And there are legacy systems that actually could also exist. So you can imagine the flows that happen from each of these entities that you see on the screen. And as a result, the system has become very vulnerable. And we're going to talk about vulnerabilities and threats in a bit. But what essentially the message here is, you're going to see this complex scenario getting even worse as we go past the current age. So what are the challenges, right? Um, uh, so as a result of all these, I think the challenges that the enterprises are facing, first and foremost, there's too much of complexity. Too many applications, be it in data, be it accessing the data, be it in the cloud, or be it in on-premise. A lot of these applications with varying degree of criticality. Some are mission critical, like your net banking, for example, for a bank is super critical. And taking it down for 15 minutes directly means loss to the bank. At the same time, there could be some non-critical, not so important systems like a procurement system where, someone raises request for buying a new equipment inside a company. So it could be different criticality. It could be, they could be residing in different locations and accessing data from different places. So there's too much complexity out there. Um, in security, the peculiar situation, unlike the other domains, which is the data or cloud, security has just too many vendors who supply security, and this is very specific to cybersecurity domain, which is, it is very fragmented. There are so many vendors who offer point solutions to solve the problems that exist, and as a result, uh, uh, it is even more complex because you cannot get them to work with each other. You cannot interoperate. So as a result, let's say there is an identity and access system which grants access to users, and then there is an encryption system, or there is a key manager. And if there are events that happen on both of them, if they are disjoint, there is no way to correlate these events and be able to, you know, uh, uh, find if there is a real incident or is it a false alarm. So just too many vendors and no interoperability makes the life very difficult for the enterprises. There are just too many alerts. Most of these tools generate alerts, and as a result, there are false alarms. And being able to monitor all these alerts and prioritize them, I think it's extremely complex. So that's the current state. Large enterprises are facing all these challenges, and the vendors, the security solution providers are trying their hard to actually meet these expectations. And I'm going to talk a bit about how. So how? Uh, these are the solutions that typically are put in place by enterprises to deal with the enterprise security. So there is something that allows you to track users, identity access management. There are endpoint management solutions that also work with identity and access. Uh, there are data security products which allow for monitoring activities on what's happening with your data, who is accessing it, and whether the data is encrypted or not, where are the keys for the encryption lines, and so on. And then there are threat management. So we have secured our indoors by having identity access and data security. But what about outdoors? How do you protect from external attack? You've got to monitor that. And that is done typically by the threat management solutions. And the attempt that all these vendors are making is to bring everyone under one roof. And that can happen only with uh, ecosystem efforts, like getting together to come up with open standards that allow for interoperability between all these solution providers. So um, I'm going to talk uh, a bit about the open security and why it is important in a slide down. But before that, let's move to uh, zero trust. So what is zero trust? So we talked about lockers, keys, doors, um, and providing access to users, or rather the residents of the house, in the context of the house, home security that we had on the first slide. Uh, uh, the enterprises, because of all the complexities that we've seen, and uh, with the influx of so many devices and endpoints that actually are required to be operated at any given point of time through different entry points, it is very difficult to track who is being given access, for how long, for what purpose, and when it is withdrawn, be able to log what the user has done, whether it was a legitimate action or whether it was an attack. All of this has got super complex, and hence I think what the organizations are moving to is zero trust, which is you enforce least privilege. So you give only the privilege to what you need. So for example, if I need to just approve access to a particular user to a particular file, I don't need to look at the file. I just need to know who the user is, and I need to know what the file is. I don't need to look inside the file. So I, as an approver, get privileges only to approve the access to the system, and not necessarily to be able to view the file. This is a classic example of least privilege. At the same time, when I have approved the request, I don't need to access that request thereafter, because the request is approved and there is no business for me to go back to that link and try to look at other things in the system. So there comes the aspect of time, the time for which I am being given the access.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Magesh. Still, from the chat box, people are saying that screen still is.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So zero trust is not the screen that you're seeing at the moment.
No, that is the first slide only we can see. Trends in cybersecurity and IBM.
Oh, I'm extremely sorry. Let me unshare and share this again.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
please.
see if it changes. I'm really sorry. I'm going to share desktop directly just
Okay.
to avoid
Screen sharing.
screen sharing.
Now fine, sir. Zero trust is coming.
Yeah, so just in interest of what I lost, I'll just scroll back a bit just to give you a picture of what I was speaking about. Because I think I lost many important points through slides. So here's the home security slide. We talked about security controls indoors with locks and keys and grills and signages, and then threat monitoring systems, which actually allow for detecting any incident. Then we talked about people, data, application, and infrastructure and how it is complex. So you can see the arrows, they're just examples of become more complex because of the intermingling of all of these wanting to use either the application or the data residing in infrastructure that could be in cloud, that could be in PCs or data centers. And there could be different people accessing them. The next one was about the complexity that I talked about. There are just too many vendors in security domain who are actually offering solutions, and they don't really talk with each other for interoperability to be able to make sense of incidents that are happening in their silos. So that's the crux of this slide. And then we moved on to these three broad categories of systems or solutions that actually offer identity and access management and data security and threat management, which actually needs to be tied up through open security and ecosystem efforts. And I'm going to talk a bit about that a little later. And this is where I was when I think I got to know that my slides were not moving. Okay, so that's zero trust. So zero trust essentially is basically giving the least privilege per request for precisely the purpose that you are trying to access the system for and for the same amount of time, even if it means it is a customer or even if it means it is an insider or administrator, restricted to the purpose what they are visiting it for. So that's the concept, and it is not going to be easy for enterprises to implement this. It's not going to be overnight. They will have to re-engineer some of their existing applications and slowly move towards this concept. Earlier, what used to happen is, most of these guarding used to happen at the perimeter. So you have firewalls and then you have VPN. And once you get access through the VPN, you are assumed to have to be a legitimate user, and you would get access to a lot of things inside the network, in the intranet or in the company enterprise network. However, I think that needs to change or is going to change over a period of time. And even if you have VPN access and perimeters are guarded, you will need to be authenticated and authorized to access certain portions of the data or the application, depending on what is the need and what's the purpose. You would not get it unless there is real need. So that's about zero trust. And as I mentioned, the enterprises will slowly move towards this to be able to get better control over the security posture inside the enterprise. The next concept is somewhat related to the challenge that I mentioned about um, the fact that there are just too many solution providers and there is absolute nil interoperability between these vendors who are providing solutions. And there is an effort going on to bring up open standards to be able to actually have these vendors have a common language. Just like we have markup languages, HTML or XML or whatever. Uh, there are proposed uh, specifications which allow uh, two different vendors to be able to talk to each other through a common language. And that's the context of having open systems and open standards in the context of security. What it will help is to be able, if someone detects a threat and reports it to the user gets that alert on the screen. And along with that, the user is also viewing 10 other alerts that are coming from other silos that are there. And then the user has the responsibility to actually correlate these two events or two incidents and be able to respond to it in a prioritized way, because you have to prioritize what is coming your way in terms of events and handle them such that you are making optimum use of the time that you have to respond to this threat. So let's say your net banking server is under attack, and at the same time, there is another server, which is your file server, and which doesn't really do much, but uh, allows people to access a few files within the company. If both of them are at, or an, are being attacked, you would obviously go protect your net banking server. But then um, to be able to do that, you need to know what is the IP address of your net banking server, what is the threat that has come, who has reported it, and you need to know how to respond to it, and so on. So there are numerous things that you need to do to be able to collect the information about the threat, be able to correlate it, and then prioritize it and be able to respond to it. So the XDR systems, the word is XDR. XDR systems allow for a user, someone who is sitting at a what they call security operations center or a SOC, to monitor all these events and be able to prioritize based on the risks that actually it is posing, and be able to take an action in a timely fashion, respond to it such that there is minimum damage or loss. So that's what these XDR systems do. And there are efforts underway to actually have multiple vendors to be able to uh, uh, interact or interoperate uh, with a standard that uh, allows for them to have a have a conversation or have a dialogue to be able to detect and respond to these events. So that's what essentially XDR is about. Let's move to some of the products. So it's really, I'm going to switch gears here. I have covered the topics which are related to setting the context of what cybersecurity challenges are, and then what are the vendors doing, and what are the two new evolved concepts, which is zero trust and XDR. I have covered that. Now I'm going to get into some solutions that go to build these or implement these concepts like zero trust or XDR. I'm going to talk about them. So I want to pause and do a check, unlike the last time, how things are. Is there any question that I should be taking? I don't know. Should we move on or?
Yes, you can move on, sir.
Okay.
Finally, you can take the questions.
Okay, fine.
They can note it down and take the questions.
Sure, thanks. So let's look at, I talked about identity and access, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about the solutions that exist in this domain. So most of you have net banking, user ID, any app that you get into, you have to have a user ID. Inside your company, you have your email ID that becomes your user ID that allows you to log into your internet. So this concept of having a user ID identity and getting access to certain or getting privileges to certain actions or data is not alien to most of you. Everyone, almost everyone has experiences. And uh, there are products, massive products that run in enterprises, which allow you to manage users. And it could be internal users or it could be consumers. So it could be consumers like bank customers. Let's say I'm always talking in the context of bank to just uh, make it easy for you to understand. So a bank has a customer. So for the bank, they are consumers, and each consumer has an identity. And there are consumer identity solutions that exist to manage them. Similarly, there are identity and access solutions that allow you to manage the identities of employees or partners or any other entities that you have to work with. And that is managed through identity and access management solutions. There are two concepts that have evolved over the last 10 years or so uh, in this domain, which are getting very prominent uh, and being adopted, which is identity governance and privilege access. So privilege access is basically, let's say I talked about an administrator who is going to grant access for a certain action or going to reboot a server or take a shutdown over a weekend maintenance. Uh, this is someone who has a lot of supreme power and they can actually do a lot of damage or they can actually keep the system up and running 24 bar 7 depending on what they want to do. And hence this identity and the actions associated with that identity has to be monitored or has to be under magnifying lens. And that is why we have solutions which are called privilege access management solutions, PAM solutions. And these privilege access solutions are specifically meant for administrators who have uh, a lot of power to do things in the production environments. And the way they are handled is very different from what you would do for normal identity and access management. There are a lot of things that they do to to make it different. For example, every action has to be logged or auditable. Every action, sometimes an action could have a workflow where you need to take permission or have two different users approve that action. Let's say system shutdown has to be approved by two different users, and hence the privilege access, only one person can't make that decision. So those are the kind of systems or use cases that are existing for privilege access. Identity governance is about having an overall view of how many users, who is using what, are there any risks associated with it, are there anyone, are there users who are no more in the organization and IDs are just lying dead? Are there any inactive users? Are there any risky users who are trying to access uh, something that they are not uh, supposed to, and so on? So these are that's the identity governance solution that allows you to govern the overall identities that you create. Okay, so that's about identity access solutions. These systems eventually help to implement zero trust. Access, the way you get access, the way you are granted access, for the time that you are granted access, what privilege you are given, is all controlled through this piece of software. And IBM Security verifies the offering from IBM to be able to achieve this, and they support zero trust as a very strong use case. Moving on to the next topic, um, uh, IBM Cloud Pak for security. So this is another piece of software that we referred to when we talked about XDR. So what this does basically is gain insights into uh, you know third-party tools or any multiple tools that exist who are doing a lot of security-related actions or security functions, and be able to correlate them and take that action fast enough to be able to control any damage or any attack. So it reduces the risk, allows you to monitor it through a pretty dashboard. That's what this product does. And again, it supports the XDR use case that I referred to. So what it does essentially is collect uh, the events that are happening in different parts. For example, it could be identity access, it could be data monitoring, it could be your endpoint management solution, or it could be your um, uh, threat intelligence solution. All of these actually feed into this particular dashboard, and then it is correlated by the engine, and it is presented on rendered on the dashboard, such that you know what is the high priority, what is the highest risk, and based on the risks that exist, you could actually take the action. So there is a risk management piece that comes into play here again, which I'm going to skip this slide. Yeah. So the risk manager here actually allows you to get a unified view of risks that exist on the assets. So the assets, when I talk about assets, it could be your servers, which are in production, or it could be in development. Depending on the criticality of the server, depending on the nature of uh, attack or vulnerability that is existing, uh, this particular piece of software will render that as a risk or an action that needs to be taken as a result to remediate that risk. It could be, go apply a patch, or switch off the access to this port on the network, or it could be remove the access to this particular user who has left the company, and so on. So it will basically try to bring up what are the actions in a prioritized order to be able to remediate them and minimize the risk. So that is what the risk manager does. Um, okay, so I'm going to switch gears again. I'm going to jump into um, a bit on encryption. That's my area on which I primarily work. Um, uh, at IBM, we have a product that helps um, managing the keys that are used for encryption. Um, so most of you have come across what um, encryption does. I'm sure the UG courses cover this topic quite well. I'm just going to touch upon two concepts, symmetric and asymmetric. So symmetric encryption is where you have one key which is used to encrypt a plain text and generate cipher text, which cannot be read uh, by anyone, and then use that key to actually decrypt so that you can get plain text back. So when it is data at rest, we're going to talk about data at rest, data in motion, and data in use in a while. For now, just assume you have data at rest. You are storing the data in your hard disk, and you are going to encrypt it. And then you're going to retrieve it from the same disk, decrypt it, and use it. For this case, where the same user is going to access it and keep it encrypted while it is resting in there, and then use it at a later point by decrypting it and reading it is a very simple scenario where there are no two users and there is no communication involved of the plain text or ciphertext, or I would say ciphertext from one user to other user. There is no transmission over network and so on. So it's very easy. So symmetric encryption, the concept is you use the same key and you have data that you decrypt and you uh, you yourself are typically accessing it. So symmetric is easy. Asymmetric encryption is actually slightly different. So it will allow you to pass the content that you have to the user who is probably on the other side of the network. And it is done using the concepts of use of public key and private keys. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it, but uh, I would leave it here that there are two types of encryptions, symmetric and asymmetric, and they allow and they serve a different purpose. Um, uh, Moving on, so we talked about uh, sorry, we talked about uh, protecting the data and data at any given point of time is data in use. It could be something that is in your memory. It could be something that is in emails, or it could be in a database when you are running an SQL query. Um, or it could be data at rest. So it is lying in your tapes, stored in the disks, or it could be, uh, you know, uh, stored in database as a package. It could be, so that's why you will see there is an overlap. Something that is in use could also be something that is stored inside the disk or a storage media. And then finally, data in motion, which is transmitted from one user to the other over the network, and typically it is protected using a technique called TLS, SSL, or secure socket layer. Some of you who've used Unix programming know sockets, and um, typically SSL or TLS is used to protect the data that is in transit, that is in motion. There are other techniques at the lower level of network stack or protocols which allow for link encryption, and at the IP level it could be IPsec, which allows you for secure data transfer. So just wanted to flash this slide to let you know that these are the three broad categories or circumstances under which you may want to protect the data, and there are different tools that are in use to actually make it happen. Okay, I'm in interest of time, I'm going to skip this slide, but just wanted to mention that encryption happens at different levels. You could do a disk encryption, you could do file system encryption, you could do at a database level, like a table space encryption, or it could be application that is actually doing the encryption of the content that it is using. For example, WhatsApp messages are encrypted. WhatsApp is an app, it's an application which actually encrypts the messages that are going from one end to the other. So that's about it. So encrypting at one layer doesn't mean it is not necessary to encrypt at the next. It has its own purpose, and these are the multiple layers at which data gets encrypted. So I'm going to switch to the second last topic of this session, which is I'm going to mention two interesting projects in cybersecurity. This is just a slide I talk to students very often and encourage them to work with open source. These are the advantages of working in open source. Um, there is a lot of uh, value in doing so because all your work is out there in open. You have testimony of your work. You get a lot of resources. You can shorten your skill gap, know where you stand. You can solve real world problems and get in touch with real uh, tools that actually allow you for development. And all these tools, if you are exposed to as a student, you will find it easy when you get into a company to use them. You will find it easier. So uh, the open source projects that I wanted to mention, I would encourage you to go look at is fully homomorphic encryption, and you could Google for them. Um, uh, you will find a lot of material around it, and it's not just IBM. There are other companies like Google, Facebook. They do work on some of these projects. Uh, so FHE, fully homomorphic encryption, is the concept where it allows you to keep the data encrypted while someone is actually doing operations on it and not let someone who is operating on it be able to look at the data. So they could operate on it and they could generate the out results and pass it to the end users without actually knowing what data they were working on. So it's a very cool technology. It's still not very evolved. A lot of uh, data analytics could happen using these techniques, but because of there are a lot of entry barriers to use fully homomorphic encryption. Still not relevant because of the speed and many other limitations that might exist. So uh, uh, that's uh, that's what fully homomorphic encryption does. Um, there is other concept which is very similar to it, which is differential privacy. Again, it allows you to contribute to the data that is being collated, and you could actually contribute to the data uh, without having to worry about your privacy getting breached. So that is what essentially differential privacy helps you achieve. Uh, Again, I'm not going to go into the details of these two concepts or projects, but I would encourage you to take some time to go look at uh, these two. And if you're interested in uh, data science and security both, these are very good topics to work on as your academic projects. Um, there are a few other open source initiatives or open standards like key management, interoperability protocol, um, and stick shifter. So stick shifter is basically the project that allows interoperability between multiple vendors. Um, uh, it's a standard that allows one vendor to share patterns or threat uh, uh, threat messages from one vendor in a way that the other vendor can also understand. So it's basically a markup language that allows you to interoperate. So these are the few concepts around open source and standards I wanted to briefly touch upon. I'll move to the next section, and this is the last section of this session, which is careers in cybersecurity. This is my point of view, nothing to do with IBM, just by virtue of being in cybersecurity for last few years. I have come across these are the broad categories under which you will find jobs in security. Um, First is operations. So we talked about identity access, encryption. So there are administrators who actually go implement these systems or um, run the operations. For example, reboot, manage upgrades, or it could be give access to a particular user, grant access, or if there is an alert, then take a pass it on for someone who is analyzing it, and so on. Incident management, for example, someone accidentally deleted some data, uh, recovering that data, or if there is a threat, someone trying to then go close that port. So implement that. So these are mostly people in operations who actually are responsible for maintaining the sanctity inside the enterprise. Uh, Another uh, profession that is, you know, taking a lot of prominent of late. It's more of terminologies. Site reliability engineers who actually allow for keeping lights on in a production environment 24/7. It requires different skills and knowledge of automation and technology, a lot of other things. It's an evolving area. The second area is in research. You've heard of this, cryptographers. This is a very old uh, profession, I would say. You will find them in universities as well as in companies doing research around cryptography. Similarly, there are researchers who are working with data. There are data scientists who are building models to analyze user behaviors or detect any threats that are looming on the network and so on. So those are the research, uh, profession or jobs. The most prominent ones are into analytics or analysis. Um, you have seen or heard about hackers. You have heard about pen testers, penetration testing. I'm sure you must have heard about digital forensics. In a lot of movies, you will find forensic guys actually trying to um, undelete the data from a damaged hard disk or a floppy drive or a floppy disk or some media. Uh, uh, that's about what a digital forensic guy is expected to do. SOC analysts are typically, there are large security operation centers. And as I mentioned, there are huge amount of alerts and events that are happening. A SOC analyst is typically someone who would analyze all of this information to be able to detect if there is any uh, vulnerability that comes up, or highlight it or take an action as a result of that uh, vulnerability or a threat. That's what typically SOC analysts do. And then finally, compliance. There are a lot of regulatory requirements of an industry, let's say banking or it could be healthcare, typically requires people to maintain a certain posture in terms of security and so on. And that's the compliance auditors and analysts who do that. The last two are very obvious. It is basically my fraternity, which is development. We build products, and it is like any other product where you have a security architect or a product engineer or a tester or a DevOps engineer. All of these are development roles. And then finally, executives. So we have CISOs, and then there are chief privacy officers with all the restrictions and regulations that are coming around privacy. I think this particular position has taken a lot of limelight in the last uh, few years. The chief privacy officer. Some of you may have heard about the expectations of customers in European Union, where they expect all my data to be deleted, the right to be forgotten. So in such scenarios where there are legal implications, you need to have a responsible officer who can take care of dealing with such requests where you've been asked to wipe out data. from your enterprise system. So that's about it. These are the career. At the bottom, you find the kind of skills you would need. Problem solving is at the top. Attention to details, critical thinking. That's what you need to be an agile security professional. You need to understand network, work with abstract things, cryptography, threat management, and so on. So that's about the professions piece. I'm going to skip the academic initiative section. Just going to flash the slides. It's about what initiatives IBM is taking through this particular program to work with academia. You have guest lectures, you have research projects, you have access to the cloud, and so on. These are some of the security initiatives in the academic initiative domain. And finally, some more additional resources. So with that, I'm going to stop here and pass it back to the MC to see if there are any questions that I should be answering, or hand it off to the next section.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Magesh. We'll move to the flash quiz, and then we'll have a presentation of the teams, and finally we'll take it the questions.
Okay, sure. I'll mute myself. Please carry on.
Okay, thank you. Participants, I have posted the flash quiz link in the chat box as well as the YouTube. So please register your name and email ID. I will take a pause 1 minute. I will share my screen with the quiz.
Hey, Robin, tell them they should also put their college name. That will be good.
Yeah. So when you register your name, please add your college name. Either short name also, it is okay. Are you able to view my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just shall we start a quiz? We'll see how many people have. $17, $30, $39, $47.
Wait till 200. Ask them to join. Wait till 200.
Yeah, that's what I'm also waiting. $36, $44.
See, 476 here, and probably YouTube also. Maybe it might have reached 500 and above. I think more people should log in or register for this Slido quiz.
Shall we start, sir? 200 crossed, or we'll wait?
I want, no.
See how fast it's filling.
To be honest with you, out of 500, I think at least
250.
Anyway, start.
Okay. Now I'm going to start the quiz. Your first question. You have a 20 seconds. So fastest finger first. Let's see how many will answer the correct answer. 5, 4, 3, 2. 36%. Let's see. We'll check that is a correct answer. No, that the C is the correct answer. We'll move to the next question. You have a 20 seconds. Which of the following is the right set of 4 pillars for a unified approach to connect data and workflows for enterprise security? Let's see. His answer. Next question. Zero trust draws on following principles except one, which is. You have a 20 seconds. First. Okay. Next question. XDR in the security context stands for. Let's see the answer. We'll go to the next 5th question. The fundamental purpose of identity and access management software is to. Okay, it's equal balance. Let's see. Oh, the option A is right. Okay, the final question. The technology that allows performing all operations on encrypted data without having to decrypt, thereby preserving privacy of data in use. Okay. Okay, done. Let's see. You can see the leaderboard. Congratulations, Kamalesh. He is the fastest finger in 1.28 seconds. You can take the photograph if you want. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, participants. I request Akshaya to take care of the proceedings. Akshaya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So moving on to the next part of the event, we are starting with a group presentation, and the topic for group presentation is trends in cybersecurity. So I would like to call upon the first team that is to present, team from Ishwari Engineering College.
Thank you, Akshaya. May I start the presentation, sir? Hello?
Sir, is the presentation visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, cool. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Ishwari Engineering College team, and we'll be presenting about the security by design from OWASP perspective. So the rise of internet and technology has expanded the realm of digital world, right? So security is of prime concern for an internet user besides a seamless user-friendly experience. So visitors or application users expect organizations to retain SSL certificates, use complaint payment services, and protect their data and information from getting leaked to hackers. For the purpose of maintaining the security of a software system or applications intact, pulling the plug from the start is necessary. So the reason being the increase in complexity of an application with the completion of each development stage. As the name proclaims, security by design means designing a software system or application to be secure from the initiation and not compromising with the security parameters. And also, while managing a website, it's really important to stay on top of the most critical security risks and vulnerabilities. And OWASP Top 10 is the great starting point to bring awareness to these biggest threats to websites in 2021. In the agenda today, we have the introduction to what OWASP is and security by design is. Then we'll be moving on to security by design principles. Then we'll also be seeing what the top 10 OWASP vulnerabilities are and along with their fixes. So what is OWASP? OWASP is a non-profit foundation, also known as Open Web Application Security Project, which is dedicated to improving the security of software. OWASP operates under an open community model where anyone can participate in and contribute to projects, events, online chats, and more. So in short, OWASP is a repository of all things web application security, backed by extensive knowledge and experience of its open community contributors. So what is OWASP Top 10? OWASP Top 10 is the list of top 10 most common application vulnerabilities. It also shows the risks, impacts, and countermeasures. So OWASP Top 10 is an online document of available on OWASP's website that provides ranking and remediation guidance for top 10 most critical web application security risks. So these reports are based on consensus among security experts from around the world. And it's also updated every 3 to 4 years. The latest version came out very recently, 3 to 4 weeks back. So let's dive right into it. Shivani will be continuing about the security by design principles. Shivani.
Thank you, Varsha. Let's start with the first of the top 10 design principles, minimizing attack surface area. The principle of minimizing attack surface area restricts the functions that users are allowed to access to reduce potential vulnerabilities. For example, you might code a search feature into an application. That search feature is potentially vulnerable to file inclusion attacks and SQL injection attacks. The developer could limit access to the search function so only registered users could use it, hence reducing the attack surface area and risk of a successful attack. Second, establishing secure defaults. This principle states that the application must be secure by default. There should be strong security rules for how user registrations are handled, how often passwords must be updated, how complex passwords should be, and so on. The list of least privilege, POLP, states that a user should have the minimum set of privileges required to perform a specific task. The POLP can be applied to all aspects of a web application, including resource access. For example, a user who is signed up to a blog application as an author should not have administrative privileges that allow them to add or remove users. They should be allowed to post articles to the application. The principle of defense in depth states that multiple security controls that approach risks in different ways are the best option for securing an application. For example, instead of letting a user log in with just a username and password, you should use an IP check, a CAPTCHA system, logging of their login attempts, brute force detection, and so on. Failing securely. This principle states that application should fail in a secure way. Failure should not give the user additional privileges and should not show the user sensitive information like database queries or logs. Don't trust third-party services. Many web applications use third-party services for accessing additional functionality or obtaining additional data. This principle states that you should never trust these services from a security POV perspective. That means that the application should always check the validity of data a third-party services send and not give those services high-level permissions within the app. Separation of duties. Separation of duties can be used to prevent individuals from acting fraudulently. For example, a user of an e-commerce website should not be promoted to also be an administrator, as they will be able to alter orders and give themselves products. The reverse is also true. An administrator should not have the ability to do things that customers do, like order items from the front end of the website. Avoiding security by obscurity. This principle states that security by obscurity should never be relied upon. If your application requires its administration URL to be hidden so it can remain secure, then it is not secure at all. There should be sufficient security controls in place to keep your application safe without hiding core functionality or source code.
Their voice is lost. Someone can continue from your team.
I'm sorry. Could you please repeat that?
Go ahead.
Varsha will be taking over from here. Varsha?
Yeah, thank you. Now we'll be moving on to the top 10 OWASP vulnerabilities in 2021. Before that, may I please request Jenny, can you please mute yourself? There's background noise.
1 minute.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll be moving on to the top 10 OWASP vulnerabilities in 2021. We have injection, broken authentication, sensitive data exposure, XML and external entities, broken access control, security misconfiguration, etc. I'll be explaining the top 5 and Gayatri will be taking over the next 5. First, we have injection. What is injection? A code injection occurs when an invalid data is sent by an attacker into a web application. The attacker's intent in doing so is to make the application do something it was not designed to do so. For example, SQL injections is one of the most common injection flaws found in application. The solution provided for this is to source code review. Source code review is the best way to prevent injection attacks, and including SAST and DAST tools in your CI/CD pipeline helps to identify injection flaws that have been would have been just introduced. Next, we have broken authentication. Certain applications are often improperly implemented. So specifically functions related to authentication and session management, when implemented incorrectly, allow attackers to compromise passwords, keywords, and sessions. This can lead to stolen user identity and morale. For example, a web application allows you to use a very weak or a well-known password. And the solution provided for this is to use multi-factor authentication, which helps reduce the risk of compromised accounts. We'll be moving on to sensitive data exposure. Sensitive data exposure is when important stored or transmitted data is compromised. For example, a financial institution that fails to adequately protect the sensitive data can be easy targets for credit card fraud or identity theft, etc. The solution provided for this is SAST tools such as Coverity and SCA tools such as Black Duck Binary. XML external entities is the next one. When attackers are able to take advantage of web applications that use vulnerable component processing XMLs, attackers are able to upload XML or include hostile commands or content within an XML document. For example, an application allows untrusted sources to perform XML uploads. Solution provided for this is static application security testing, which is SAST. It is very helpful at detecting XXE in source code, and it helps inspect both application configuration and dependencies. Next, we have broken access control. Broken access control is when an attacker is able to get access to user accounts. The attacker is able to operate as the user or as an administrator in the system. For example, an application allows a primary key to be changed when the key is critical to use penetration testing in order to detect unintended access controls. So changes in architecture and design may be warranted to create trust boundaries for data access. Gayatri will be taking over the next 5 vulnerabilities. Gayatri.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have just 2 more minutes to complete the presentation.
Okay, ma'am. I think Gayatri has some network issues, so I'll continue the next 5 OWASP vulnerabilities. We have security misconfiguration, which is when design or configuration weaknesses result from a configuration error or shortcoming. Then we have cross-site scripting, which is an XSS attacks occur when an application includes untrusted data on a web page. Attackers inject client-side scripts into the web page. Next, we have insecure deserialization. It is a vulnerability where deserialization flaws allow an attacker to remotely execute code in the system. Lastly, I'm sorry, we have 2 more, which is using components with unknown vulnerabilities. This states its nature. It describes when when applications are built and run using components that contain known vulnerabilities. Lastly, we have insufficient logging and monitoring. Logging and monitoring are activities that should be performed to a website frequently to guarantee it is secure. Failure to adequately log or monitor a site leaves it vulnerable to more severe compromising activities. Janani will be taking over now with a demonstration.
So, as my friends explained about the OWASP vulnerabilities, now I'll proceed with the application called OWASP ZAP. So, OWASP ZAP is a dynamic application testing tool for finding vulnerabilities in web applications. OWASP ZAP is a dynamic application security testing tool for finding vulnerabilities in web applications. It is completely free, open source. It is the world's most popular web application scanner. So ZAP is nothing but Z Attack Proxy. It's a free, open source penetration testing tool being maintained under the OWASP. So ZAP is known as a man-in-the-middle proxy. It stands between the tester's browser and the web application so that it can intercept and inspect messages sent between the browser and the web application. It can modify the contents if needed, and it forwards the packets onto the web application onto the destination. So since ZAP is open source, the source code can be examined to see exactly how the functionality is implemented. Anyone can volunteer to work on ZAP. They can fix bugs, add features, create pull requests to pull fixes into the project, and author add-ons also are supported in ZAP. So this is how the ZAP application
Sorry
looks.
to interrupt once again, but your time is over.
Oh, can I have 2 minutes more, please?
No,
Yes.
Ma'am, is it fine
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we just show the demonstration of the application, ma'am? We'll just show a demonstration real quick.
Sure, continue then.
Okay. Janani, show them the demonstration.
Yeah. So this is how the ZAP application looks. There are 2 types of scan we can do in this application. One is automated scan and another is manual explore scan. So based upon the scan produced, we have alerts producing, like based upon the level of vulnerability produced, it is classified into high, medium, low information, false positive, and flags will be produced. So to demonstrate, I'll just use this. So this is the application. Sorry, the application is creating new session now. So meanwhile, I'll say about there are 2 spiders used in the automated scan. I'll say about that. In automated scan, there will be 2 spiders. One is the normal spider and one is Ajax spider. The traditional normal spider, that discovers the link by examining the HTML and responses from the web application. That spider is fast, but the Ajax spider is likely to be more effective because Ajax spider explores web application by invoking browsers, which then follows the links that have been generated. So the Ajax spider is slower than the traditional spider and requires additional configuration for the use of headless environment. So, and generally they say that manual explore scan is more beneficial because spiders are a great way to explore the basic site, but manual is more effective. Spiders, for example, will only enter the basic default data into the forms in your web application, but the user can enter more relevant information, which can in turn expose more of the web application to this app. So manual export is the best.
May I take on the demo? I'll just show them the demo real quick.
Okay, okay.
1 second.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, Varsha, it's visible.
I'm starting the scan, automated scan. This is how the scan works, and it provides you with the information of how efficient your website is and how secure it is in real life.
Varsha, give alerts box. Click the alerts box.
Click what? Sorry.
Alerts. Alerts.
Alerts. Yeah.
So here the alerts are classified. The yellow flags and blue flags are shown. So click one alert, please.
Yeah.
So the description about that alert is shown. Based upon the alert, the developers can use the necessary solutions to prevent it before they make their web application online, or to prevent the web application from further attacks.
Yes. So this was Ishwari Engineering College, and my teammates are Janani, Gayatri, Shivani, and myself, Varsha. Thank you.
That was quite an informative presentation. Thank you, team. So the next team to be present are from Vivekananda College of Engineering for Women.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
you ready, team?
Vivekananda College, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm 1 minute, sir. Presenting. Sir.
No. Vivekananda, you have any issues, connectivity issues? Vivekananda team? Okay.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Connectivity issues, sir.
Anyway, I will project it for you. You just go through it.
Okay, sir.
Are you able to view the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone present here. We are from Vivekananda College of Engineering for Women. Our topic is post-quantum cryptography, the NIST initiatives. The teams are Anu, Anushya, and myself, Juraida, and Lavanya and Madhuvashini.
Shall we move to the next?
Yes, sir. Post-quantum cryptography, the NIST. Post-quantum cryptography is a program and the competition by NIST. The NIST is a National Institute of Standard and Technology to update their standards to include post-quantum cryptography. It was announced at PQ Crypto 2016. 23 signature schemes and 59 encryption schemes were submitted by the initial submission deadline at the end of 2017, of which 69 total were deemed complete and proper and participated in the first round. 7 of these, of which 3 are signature schemes, have advanced to the third round, which was announced on July 22, 2020. Unlike mathematical encryption, quantum cryptography uses the principle of quantum mechanics to encrypt data and making it virtually unhackable. Post-quantum cryptography has 3 rounds: round 1, round 2, and round 3. So next slide, sir. Difference between post-quantum cryptography and quantum cryptography. Post-quantum cryptography. Post-quantum cryptography refers to cryptographic algorithms, usually public key algorithms, that are thought to be secure against an attack by a quantum computer. These complex mathematical equations take traditional computer months or even years to break. However, quantum computer running Shor's algorithm will be able to break math-based systems in moments. Quantum cryptography. Quantum cryptography, on the other hand, uses the principles of quantum mechanics to send secure messages, and unlike mathematical encryption, is truly unhackable. So next slide. Here's a round 1. Round 1 types are lattice, code-based, hash-based, multivariate, braid group, super singular elliptic curve isogency, statistical submission, and others. Here is the comparison of classical ECC versus post-quantum scheme submitted to NIST. Elliptical curves, lattices, isogens, codes, hash function. These are the types. Signature and key exchange. In elliptical curves, it has 64 bytes. In key exchange, it has 32 bytes. Lattices in signatures having 2.7 KB and key exchange 1 KB. Isogenses have key exchange in 330 bytes. Code has key exchange as 1 MB. Hash functions as 41 KB. Next, Anushya will continue.
Just to interrupt, please don't read the slides. If you have anything to supplement, you say, because we can all read. So the time will be, lost. Okay, thank you.
Round 1 submissions published stats. Yesterday by Lawrence Pany, RVB by Lawrence Pany, Rakos by Daniel J. Benstein, Andreas Helsing, Tanja Lange, and Lawrence Pany, HK17 by Daniel J. Benstein and Tanja Lange, SRTPI by Bo In Young, Walnut DSA by Walt B. Allens and Simon R. Blackburn, by Matthew Koto, Anton Mensho, and Alexander Ushakov, DRS by Young Yu and Leo Dukas. Next slide, sir. Dax by Elise Briley and Alain Correr, Edon K by Matthew Lekens and Jean Pierre Tillich, RLCE by Alain Correr, Matthew Lekens and Jean Pierre Tillich, Hilafai by Daniel J. Benstein, Leon Groot, Tanja Lange, and Lawrence Pany, Geophantas by Ward B. Allens, Walter Christic, and Frederick, Ransing by Thomas, Mechanic by Philip Gaboret, Tereshio Chinla, and Chick Houghton. Next slide.
Your voice is not audible. Can you someone summarize it?
So here is the graphical representation of round 1 submission. The light gray color represents the public key encryption and the dark gray represents signature schemas. So the next slide, sir. Anu will continue further.
Round 2 types are lattice, code-based, hash-based, multivariate, super singular elliptic curve isogency, zero knowledge proofs. Next slide, sir. Report of second round submission. Status report on the second round of the NIST post-quantum cryptography standardization process. Johnson Alagic, Jacob Alberin Cherif, Daniel Abun, David Cooper, Quinn Dang, John Kelsey, E. Kai Liu, Carl Miller, Dustin Moody, Rene Peralta, Rob Perlner, Ajanla Robinson, Daniel Smith Toon. Next slide, sir. Here is the round 2 submission. Next submission categories are lattices or LWE, error correcting codes, isogenesis, hash-based signatures, multivariate quadratics. In lattices, encryptions are 9-member, signature has 3, error correcting codes in encryptions 7, isogenesis encryption 1, hash-based signature 2, multivariate quadratics signature 4. Total in encryption 17, signature 9. Next slide, sir. Madhuvarshini will continue next.
Round 3. On July 22, 2020, NIST announced 7 finalists as well as 8 alternate algorithms. The first track contains the algorithms which appear to have the most promise and will consider for standardization at the end of the third round. Algorithms in the second track would still become part of the standard after the third round ends. NIST expects some of the alternate constituents to be considered in fourth round. NIST also suggests it may reopen the signature category for new schemes proposal in the future. On June 7 to 9, 2021, NIST conducted the
PW team, can you summarize the, can you go to the summary slide and say that summary? Anyone can summarize the concept? Shall I move to the next one? ECW.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Round 3 finalists in types lattice code multivariate. In lattice, encryption and signatures overall 5. In code overall 1. The multivariate overall 1. The next slide, sir. 7 finalists in the next process in type lattice code-based multivariate in PKE or KEA. In lattice, PKE or KEA is nothing but public key enabling and key encapsulations. Crystal Kyber into Saber in signatures, Crystal Lithium Falcon. In code-based PKE or KEA is classic Mech Allies. In multivariate signature is Rainbow. Next slide, sir.
Sorry to interrupt, you have 1 more minute left. Please summarize your presentation.
Okay, ma'am, I will summarize more.
Go ahead.
Shall I move to the next?
Yes, sir. Lavanya will continue that, sir. After I will summarize.
Here is the last topic, intellectual property concerns. Okay, what is intellectual property concerns means after NIST announcement regarding the finalist and the alternate candidates, various intellectual property concerns were voiced, notably surrounding lattice-based schemes such as Kyber and New Hope. NIST holds signed statements from submitting groups clearing any legal claims, but there is still a concern that third practices could raise claims. NIST claims that they will take such consideration into account while picking the winning algorithms. Adaptations. During this round, some candidates have shown to be vulnerable to some attack vectors. It forces these candidates to adapt accordingly. Crystal Kyber and Sabit may change the nested hashes used in their proposal in order for their security claims to hold. Falcon. Side channel attack by. Masking may be added in order to resist the attack. The adaptation affects performance should be considered while standardizing. Thank you, sir. Jureda, you will summarize.
Actually,
Please do summarize. Time is almost.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the post-quantum cryptography is the cryptographic algorithms that are used to secure against a attack by a quantum computer, and it has algorithms like lattice-based, multivariate, hash-based, code-based, super singular elliptic curve, and symmetric key. In lattice-based cryptography, we can learn systems such as it will have learning with errors, a ring learning with errors, a ring learning with key exchange, and ring learning with error signature. And it will secure and security reduces to worst case problem in lattice based cryptography. In multivariate cryptography, there is a patent on the rainbow signature scheme in multivariate cryptography. This cryptography includes such a system as the rainbow scheme, which is based on the difficulty of solving system of multivariate equations. Hash-based cryptography. This is a digital signature were invented in the late 1970s by Ralph Merkle and have been studied ever since as interesting alternative to number theoretical digital signatures. Code-based cryptography. This is a cryptographic system which rely on error correcting codes. Super singular elliptic curve isogency. This is the properties of curves to create a replacement with forward accuracy. Symmetric key quantum resistance. And why the post-quantum cryptography is important. The goal of post-quantum cryptography is to develop cryptographic systems that are secure against both quantum and classical computers and can interact with existing communication protocols and works. Then how does the post-quantum cryptography work? Post-quantum cryptography refers to cryptographic algorithms, usually public key algorithms, PKA, that are thought to be secure against an attack by a quantum computer. Unlike mathematical encryption, quantum cryptography uses the principles of quantum mechanics to encrypt data, making it virtually unhackable.
Jureda, sorry, but your time is over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, team. Moving on, we have the final presentation to be made by the team from Alpha College of Engineering. Are you ready, team?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a moment, ma'am.
You have any connectivity issue? I will share it for you.
Good evening, everyone. We are from the Alpha College of Engineering. Our topic is about open standards. Why now? Why in security?
You have stopped sharing your screen.
Introduction. A cybersecurity defines the both functional and assurance requirements within a product, system, and process the technology equipment. Numerous standards have been developed for the cybersecurity to help the organizations and better manage the security risk and implement the security controls to prevent the hacking. The characteristics of a cybersecurity defines the standard defines the both functional and assurance requirements. Is the principal objective is to reduce the end risks, including the preventions and mitigations of a cybersecurity. The cybersecurity goes to protect the data and make the data the privacy and confidently manner, preserving the data in the integrity. These are the principles that are followed by the every organizations. Every organization who uses the internet needed security technology, they follow these three primary steps: preventive, detective, and corrective. They follow these techniques to prevent the hacking from the security. Sangeeta IAS will continue from over there.
Next one is security policies. Security policies, which means that some certified set of rules that will be provided to make sure whether that particular person is authorized or not for accessing that technology. Then in security policy, information assets that need to be observed with some specified set of rules and guidelines. With respect to the security of information, it is like a legal agreement on the organization which is responsible for how to preserve the organization from unwanted threats and how to handle it in case if it is occurs. Then what are all the needs for interpreting these security policies? It will enhance the system efficiency. It validates disciplines and accountability. We can make a business deal here. There is a chance to educate employees on security literacy. Security standards. It is a technique which attempts to protect the cyber environment of an organization. Here, the main objective is to reduce the risk that preventing the cyber security. Then security standard. To make the cyber security measure explicit, the written norms are required. These norms are called cyber security standards. The security standard is a published specification that will establish a common language and contains a technical specification or other precise criteria and is designed to be used consistently as a rule and as a guidelines. Some of the cyber security standards are given here. First one is ISO 27001, International Organization of Standardization. It deals with how to manage the information in more secure manner. Then PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is used to ensure the safe and secure transfer of some credit card data. Then Preeta will continue.
I'm Preeta. I'm here to present a topic named Cybersecurity Standard. There are top 5 standards. Let's see each and everything in detail. First standard. First standard is an international standard that describes a requirement for an ISMS information security management system. The standard framework is designed to help organizations manage their security practices in one place and consistently and cost efficiently. Next standard is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is a set of requirements intended to ensure that all companies that process, store, or transmit credit card information maintenance in secure environment. The next standard, Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act of 1996, is a federal law that requires a creation of national standards to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient consent or knowledge. The next standard is Financial Regulator Authority. Recently, Europe cyber security regulation has focused on risk to the financial sector. However, complicated overlapping regulation system shows the growing needed for a comprehensive cybersecurity framework. And moving on to the last standard, General Data Protection Recovery. Data protection is a process of safeguard important information from corruption, compromise, or loss. Data recovery is a process of restoring data that has been lost, accidentally deleted, corrupted, or made inaccessible. And how to use open standard to improve security and performance testing. Here, network developers know the requirement and they'll provide visibility into the testing process and result. The results will only work on the right methodology which are useful for network operation to determine how to deploy function into a network in a secure way. And open standards are key for security in cloud.
Sorry to interrupt, but you have just 1 more minute.
Okay, ma'am. Sangeeta, we will continue the rest.
Information security. Information security is designed to implement to protect the print electronics and other private sensitive personal data from the unauthorized persons. Identifying information related aspects, potential threats and vulnerabilities and impacts are there in information security. Whenever risk mitigation is required, selecting or designing security control and implementing them in information security. It is used to protect data from being misused, disclosure, destruction, modification, and interruptions. Opportunities for future improvement. That is identifying the risk management. Identifying the risk management, then protect accessing and controlling will be protected in the cyber security. Detection will be detection process will take place in the future improvement. Then response planning and communication, analyzing and mitigation are the improvements in the future enhancement of cyber security. Recovery in cyber security is recovering the plans and communications and further on. Advantages of cyber security is protect system against virus, worms, spyware, and other unwanted programs. Protect against data from theft. Protect the computers from being hacked. Gives privacy to users. Increase productivity to avoid websites by avoiding website to go down. Then disadvantages of cyber security. Make the system slower and then better. Could be cost for average users. Information assurance. Information assurance means measure that protect and defend information and information systems by ensuring their availability, integrity, and authentications. The three objectives of the information security is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is that information is not disclosed to authorized individuals and entities and process. Integrity, maintaining accuracy and completeness of data. Availability is that information must be available when needed. Keylogger is one of the cybersecurity sample project. Keyloggers are activity monitoring software program that gives hackers to access your personal data. Whenever the software is installed in your computers, whatever the information you have typed, it will send the information to a particular hacker's mail. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Thank you. So thank you all the teams who have for your wonderful presentations. Now moving on to the next phase. Silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone, said O. Henry. To affirm the same, I call upon Mr. Robin Sir from PALS to deliver the vote of thanks.
No.
Question and answer sessions.
Before that question and answer session, then CNC will give a vote of thanks. Mr. Magesh?
Sure.
These are all the questions we have collected from the registration form itself.
Okay.
If you have not covered any questions from your presentation, you can take the questions and answer.
Okay, sure. I'll take a few.
Okay.
So hacking and ethical hacking, I think it's obvious. Ethical hacking is done with the prior intimation and knowledge to the system that you're going to hack into. So ethical means you are going to do it with knowledge and going to share the findings with the person who owns that system. And you will not do it with an intent of any any harming anyone. So that is the difference between these two. And how to be skilled in being an ethical hacker. There are standard trainings and programs you can go about experimenting. There are lots of tools available in on the web that you could actually start learning to get skills on hacking. But I think to begin with, you need to undergo some training. Cybersecurity risk assessment is basically, it is to assess or to find as a result of responding to certain questions as to how ready you are to be able to face a cyber attack without getting compromised or causing any data breach. So an assessment will eventually tell you whether you are at risk or not. So it is like your ISO certification. This assessment is about ISMS. Someone talked about ISMS. I think it is an assessment to determine whether you are, as an enterprise, ready from security standpoint. Vulnerability assessment and pen testing. Pen testing is basically using different tools to crack a system. Vulnerability assessment is basically to run a scan, and that scanner will actually tell you what are the vulnerabilities that you are exposed to. So pen testing is a manual activity. Vulnerability assessment is a scan, which will give you a report, which you can actually go over, analyze, and take corrective actions. That's the difference. Biggest security threats, I think in the last year, a lot of people got impacted by ransomware. That was the most impactful threat. And second was, of course, it has been on the charts on the top, which is the data breach. So someone actually uh, hacking into your system and publishing that data in public or leaking that data on the dark web. I will not get into what a dark web is, but it is like underworld of cybersecurity. So these are a couple of ones. The hottest one that you may have heard about, maybe the Pandora papers, where a huge list of celebrities got leaked on who has properties and hidden wealth in outside of their country. So that was a breach, data breach. Someone actually revealed that data after contacting. So those were the answers. I don't know if I have time, but I can go on answering a few more if we have the time. I think skills and technology, I covered that in my presentation. You can refer to it. I'll share the presentation. Depending on what profession in security you intend to take, the skills may vary a little bit here and there. Technology can be learned. For a student, I don't think it's too much of a concern. It is something that you can learn over a period. How does the cybersecurity team prevent hacking of 1.5 billion people personal information to hackers who were active at that time? So we talked about it, zero trust and XDR. I mean, that's the strategy that large enterprises are taking to prevent hacks and breaches. Zero trust is don't give access unless it is absolutely necessary, and give it for the purpose, only for the purpose that it is needed and only for a time that it is needed for. And keep watching, monitoring, detecting, and responding to incidents. If someone in your neighborhood gets attacked, you need to be aware of it. So stay in touch with your peers who got attacked, how they got attacked. So there are communities or groups that actually are monitoring all the cyber threats. So be in touch with what's happening. X-Force, IBM X-Force is one such community that is active on web, which allows you to be in touch with what are the latest threats that are coming up. So be in touch with them and make sure that the systems are not vulnerable. So applying patches on time, taking the action based on the risk that exists in a timely fashion. These are a few things that you would do to protect your systems from breaches. I think this covers pretty much what you listed here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magesh. Now I request Mr. CNC to propose a vote of thanks. CNC. Ram, sir, CNC is there? One second.
He's muted, sir.
Yes.
CNC is muted.
Yes, CNC.
Yeah. I am unmuted. I can speak and propose vote of thanks. Okay. Thanks, Ram, for coordinating this. Okay, let me first start with Professor Kumar from East Engineering College principal. For nicely touching upon IBM, the industry leader, for giving us such wonderful state-of-the-art technology, tools, and so on. I think he rightly mentioned about the IBM's place and how we are all benefited. And thanks for calling out what PALS is doing, Professor. Thank you very much for acknowledging the PALS work to bring such stalwarts as IBM for benefits of students and faculty. Thank you very much. And Mahesh, thanks a lot for touching upon challenges in security front, starting from basic home security, beware of dogs, to advanced security, cyber security concepts. And you nicely picked up the commonly used net banking. Everybody uses net banking on laptop or mobile. to illustrate some of the concepts. Very nicely done. And he also expanded it to across different industries, financial services, healthcare. Even though cyber security is a horizontal platform across different industry vertical, you are able to talk about some of these things. And you also mentioned about IBM projects and those in public domain for students to take away from this session and go and do some further reading and research. Finally, it was very interesting. You touched upon job roles. It's very interesting, very relevant for students who are here. Majority, over 400 people here. They should know, okay, what are the job roles in job cybersecurity? You nicely, touched upon some of the job roles and job description of some of them. And before we started the vote of thanks, you also picked up a few key questions from students. What we got from registration, you answered them all nicely. Overall, thank you very much, Mahesh. Hope we continue to have this association because cybersecurity is a very, very important concept. And also, I think you mentioned that IBM skill academic courses are there in cybersecurity. For those who are interested in pursuing career in cybersecurity, there are courses in IBM Skills Academy. PALS is trying to work with IBM to stand up some of these courses for the benefit of students. Thank you very much. And student teams, Ishwari, Vivekananda, and Alpha, wonderful job. So cybersecurity is the latest topic, and you're able to read up something and research and present to us. Very nicely done. And we had nice MCs, Atacha and Gayatri, who did a very wonderful job of managing the show today. And finally, PALS PMO, as usual, hats off to you for organizing the session with all the logistics and everything working. Okay. I end my vote of thanks. Mahesh, actually, I work with all IBM people, Purnima and others, to reach out to the people, IBM professionals, and to stand up and enable PALS program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was very nice, interesting session. Back to you, Robin, or MCs.
Thank you, CNC. Thank you, Mr. Magesh.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And it was a pleasure. Thank you, CNC. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Vechivel and Dr.
Thank you, Mahesh sir. Thank you, Ram sir. And
very, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Akshaya, Gayatri, MCs. I request the participants to submit their feedback and online quiz, which is posted in the chat box as well as YouTube. Thank you.